Welcome back to KGSM-TV. I'm Harry Loomis.
And I'm Ashley Luthons. In this show, we'll have our usual top stories, history segment, and an overview of women's history. Then later in the show, Harry and Kanan will give us the Griffin Sports Update and even bring back the sports table.
But first, Griffin Activity Programming was back this week with another fun event for students.
This past Wednesday, Griffin Activity Programming hosted a casino night for students to come out and enjoy. Fulkerson was set up with tons of tables, all offering different casino games for students to play.
I came to the casino night to kind of just see what it was. I didn't really know a whole lot about where it was or what it was, so I'm glad I came out, but it seems like it's going to be a fun night.
Besides just playing to have fun, some students had their eyes on big prizes. There were over $8,000 worth of prizes given away to lucky students whose tickets got drawn in the multiple raffles they had going on. In order to enter these raffles, attendees had to earn chips through games and could trade in the chips for these tickets.
It's like you start off with like fake money and then you get to play a bunch of casino games.
The event started at 6 p.m. and ended around 9:30 p.m. Students were able to go out and have a fun Wednesday night while also learning a little bit more about how to play casino games.
Yeah, so it's honestly for beginners. The people who are dealing the cards are super nice. They will just let you know like how to play the game if you don't know. They're fun to interact with. Honestly, it's just like a good event for like beginners and people who don't really know how to play.
Reporting for KGSM-TV, I'm Ashley Luthons.
For more information about upcoming events, be sure to check out the GAP Instagram page at Griffin Activities.
March is a time to celebrate amazing women of the world and their achievements. On this day in women's history, several things took place. The first woman to join the Navy and officially join the military in a role other than a nurse was born. Her name was Loretta Perfectus Walsh, and her birth year was 1917. She sadly passed away at the age of 29 from tuberculosis. Also on this day, the Campfire Girls were established. The Campfire Girls were the first interracial, non-political American organization for girls with no religious affiliation. The Center for Diversity and Inclusion is celebrating Women's History Month by holding a luncheon in honor of women in the workplace. This will take place on March 29th at 11:30 in Spratt 214. We'll be right back after this break.
A leading problem I've faced is a misunderstanding on the part of students of the importance of academic advising. They miss appointments. They don't make appointments. But what's most disappointing is when they come unprepared. Give me a student with a plan in their head, or better yet, on paper. We could talk about their interests, not just about their classes. We could discuss internships, classwork, grad programs. It would open the door to what advising is truly about.
Can I help you?
But instead, they come to me in a panic when they need to register because...
I need to talk to you. I was trying to register for my classes, but it wouldn't let me do it because I need my PIN, and I haven't had time to set up an advising, so I don't even know what classes I need to take, so I just signed up for a bunch of random ones, and I'm going to drop them later. So can I have my PIN real fast, because I'm still logged into a computer in the lab. Am I interrupting?
Take ownership of your education. Make the most of your advisement by being proactive, punctual, and prepared. You'll open the door to more personalized attention and avoid costly setbacks. It's never too soon to begin planning your next steps at Missouri Western.
With some crazy weather and spring break starting this week, there are some great stories to go over today. Here's what we have. California rarely sees snow. When they do receive a large amount of snow, it is difficult to function and go on with their everyday lives. Typically at this time of year, cattle have plenty of grass to feed on and open water in the ponds to drink. This past week, everything has frozen up and snow has covered all of the food on the ground that they have access to. This has forced the state to take action to save the cattle by initiating a plan that they call Operation Hay Drop. The state of California is helping livestock owners feed their cattle by dropping hay bales from helicopters onto the land where the cattle are grazing. As we start spring break, it is important that we are aware of the issues with the pharmacies in Mexico that are lacing their basic medications with fentanyl. Recently, a team of researchers from UCLA traveled to Mexico and tested some of their basic drugs. At least half of the pills came back positive for methamphetamine or fentanyl. If you have any plans on traveling outside of the country for spring break, make sure you bring your own basic medicine just to be safe. For more top stories, tune in again after spring break.
This week for Women's History Month, we discuss Gloria Steinem, an American journalist from Toledo, Ohio, that is known for her involvement as a feminist activist. Steinem is a political activist and co-founder of many women's rights groups, as well as having involvement in the women's liberation movement in the 1960s and 70s, earning her the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2013. Steinem also wrote for New York Magazine as well as co-founding Miss Magazine. Steinem famously went undercover as a Playboy bunny in order to expose what it was really like to work in the Playboy Club in New York City in 1963. Taking on a fake identity, Steinem applied for and was hired as a waitress at the Playboy Club. Steinem reported excessive amounts of objectification towards her and her other waitresses, as well as unfair wages and an uncomfortable work environment. Steinem used what she learned from the experience and reported it all, revealing the raw truth of how these women were treated. Steinem has continued to speak up for women throughout her life. Gloria Steinem is an inspirational journalist who has worked her whole life to fight for women's equality, even putting herself in some tough situations to do so. After the break, Harry and Kanan have the Griffin Sports Update.
The Missouri Department of Conservation is located on Missouri Western's campus at 701 James McCarthy Drive. All you have to do is open the door and walk in. Once in, you will see all the sorts of animals, live animals, and rawr. Anyways, here's another snake. And a fish, so cute. Outside, you can see ponds, trees, and walking trails. There are even activities for kids. Stop by sometime between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Go Griffs!
Hello, welcome to the esports arena. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, so you're just letting everyone in? Yeah.
Looking for a place to hang out, game, or just relax? The Griffin Esports Arena is open to all students. Head on over today.
Welcome to KGSM Sports. I'm Kanan Bielovats.
I'm Harry Loomis, and the Griffin fans finally got to watch the high-powered Griffin softball team in person on Wednesday, and they put on quite a show. A convincing sweep of a non-conference doubleheader over Benedictine. All the usual suspects came out to play, including former All-American Sidney Hawkins, who has 2 or more hits in 12 of the team's 19 games thus far. If you're free this Saturday afternoon, I recommend going out and watch this team play as they play host to Wayne State.
Another team that is off to a hot start this season is Griffin Tennis. Led by Anya Chavez, the team is undefeated against Division II opponents, with their only losses coming against St. Louis and Missouri State. They look to continue that trend this weekend as MIAA finally kicks off with home matches against Emporia State and the Newman University Jets.
Griffin lacrosse dropped a high-scoring game Sunday at Maryville, but don't blame Michaela Ness for that. The sophomore from Minnesota potted 5 goals in the 12-11 loss. The Griffins are still 2 weeks away from starting GLVC conference play, and with just 6 conference games scheduled, they will want to be at the absolute top of their game come April 1st.
After a rough stretch in early March, Griffin baseball got back into the win column over the weekend. Time is ticking for the Griffins to get back into MIAA postseason contention. This weekend series against Rogers State could be the first step towards making a rally.
Earlier this week, former Griffin men's basketball coach Sundance Wicks was hired as the new head coach at the University of Wisconsin-Green Bay. Wicks departs from his position as assistant coach at the University of Wyoming, where he made the NCAA National Tournament a year ago as one of the last 4 teams in. Wisconsin-Green Bay is coming off a season where they went just 3-29, a clear sign that a new face was needed. Wicks took a pretty similar role when he arrived in St. Joseph for his first head coaching gig at Missouri Western, turning the Griffins from a 6-win team in 2017-18 to an 18-win team just 2 years later. If history suggests anything, Wicks will institute a new culture fueled by passion, a desire to improve, and more importantly, the juice. It's a relatively quiet week in Griffin sports, but that's not the case for the national stage. Stay tuned as Kanan and I break down March Madness for this week's installment of the Roundtable.
As fun as college is, it can be a really stressful time.
It's easy to feel alone.
Even in full classrooms, sometimes it still feels like you have no one.
It's especially easy to feel isolated during these crazy times.
It's hard to recognize the signs when you don't know them.
Don't be afraid to reach out and get help.
There are always ways to get help on campus.
The counseling center is always ready to work with you.
There's also lots of ways to get help off campus.
There are several different hotlines you can reach out to.
Make sure to check in on your friends and family.
Keep an eye out for the signs.
There's no shame in recognizing that you're struggling.
There's no shame in asking for help.
There is no shame in taking care of yourself.
You and your mental health are the priority.
See the signs. Take action.
Take action.
Take action.
Take action.
Take action.
Take action.
I'd really encourage, if you need to talk to someone, reach out to us. That's what we're here for.
(2,900) home clothes dryer fires are reported each year and cause an estimated 5 deaths, 100 injuries, and $35 million in property loss. When we hear the words home fire prevention, we often think of lit candles, grease fires, and electrical fires. However, one of the most common house fires comes from unclean dryer vents. Dryer lint is highly flammable. It is recommended the dryer vents are cleaned every 6 months. Call your local HVAC services or fire department for more information on how to clean your vents.
Back here at KGSM-TV, that's Kanan Bielevats. I'm Harry Loomis. We're bringing back the Sports Roundtable, and I think we all know what the subject is today. It's March Madness time. We are recording this on Friday. The first day of games is in the books, and already some huge upsets. We saw second seed Arizona lose to a 15 seed, and fourth seed Virginia lose to a 13. This is the third straight year that a 15 seed is beaten a 2 Kanan. St. Peter's even made the Elite 8 last year, won 3 games of the tournament. Is it fair to say that March Madness is more wide open than it's ever been before?
100%. You know, back in the days, you had your dominant teams. No surprises were to come, but with the change of basketball, with the change of pace, anything can happen. Like yesterday, like you said, we saw Princeton knock out Arizona. My bracket was busted because of that. I had Arizona in my Final Four. But stuff happens. You just got to roll with it. March Madness, you have to be on top of your game. For example, Virginia, they were not. They were up by 2 with about 6-7 seconds left to go. Their point guard throws it up court for a desperation pass because he didn't want to get called for a 10-second backcourt. And what happens? Ball gets picked off midair, dishes for a wide open 3 for him, beats Virginia. You can't do that. You got to be on top of your game, March Madness.
Absolutely. It's crazy to see how sometimes just a simple mistake can affect the team's entire season. We all remember the Chris Webber timeout when he didn't have any left. That's just the nature of the beast. That's the one and done story of March Madness. Talking about upsets, one of the most common upsets, anyone that's ever done a bracket, anyone that ever takes it fairly seriously will tell you, you always bet a 12 to beat a 5. You always got to have at least one. According to Wikipedia, as of 2022, teams were almost 36% as a 12 seed to win their first round matchup. Pretty good odds, honestly. They did go 0-2 yesterday. And usually when we look at the 12 seeds, these are kind of the best of the mid-majors that are only in the tournament because they won their conference. You know, the last 4 are usually the 11 seeds, 12 and after is a smaller conferences that you never really hear about besides when they win their conference and then make the tournament. This today on Friday, we have Drake and VCU as the 12 seeds. They will be playing Miami and St. Mary's, respectively. Kanan, do you think either one of those is going to get a win?
Well, I think Miami's going to take care of Drake, led by Isaiah Wong. The Hurricanes are just operating on another level. I've been watching the Hurricanes the past 2 seasons. Wong has really stepped up his game. I have VCU, St. Mary's. I have them upsetting St. Mary's.
I like that pick, the 8-10. You know, we all expected a little bit more out of them this year. There's a lot of teams, you know, being from St. Louis, we hear a lot about the Billikens, you know, as a potential dark horse. Things just didn't go well for a lot of teams in that conference this year. VCU is the only A10 representation this year. Now the Thursday games are in the books, which means all 8 Saturday games are set. Kanan, are any of those matchups in particular drawing your attention?
Whew, that's a tough one. I mean, as a guy who loves basketball, I got to say all of them. Like, it's extremely competitive, the most unpredictable sport in the most unpredictable month. I mean, anything can happen. We can see Alabama get knocked out in the next round. We can see so many upsets, so many crushing defeats, but we can also see a lot of routes. But I'm excited for the entire thing.
I am too. If I had to narrow down on one in particular, it would be 5th seed Duke facing 4th seed Tennessee. Duke, not really a lot of people knew what to expect this year with Coach Mike Krzyzewski retiring. They don't seem to have lost a step. They slowed down a little bit at the end of the season, won the ACC, put on a dominant performance against Oral Roberts, who was a very popular upset pick. And then Tennessee, we've seen what they can do. When they're on, they're a team that can win the national tournament. They did not impress hardly anybody yesterday defeating the Raging Cajuns. Let's see what another game could do to them. but they have a lot to prove today.
100%. Tennessee, Duke, that's going to be a great game. I have Duke winning that one. Tennessee just looked a little bit slow, a little bit off. Duke, that's a team with culture. They have the history. They have the experience. Duke's going to win that one.
There's experience pays in a lot of ways. Speaking of experience, you know, me and you, we're basketball guys. We do brackets every single year. Most of the time it gets busted. I know you said you had Arizona in your Final Four. Give me your pick, updated Final Four, and who's going to be your champion?
Well, Alabama, KU, they're definitely going to make the Final Four. Texas, ooh, and for my fourth one, I'm trying to think. Maybe Missouri.
Missouri.
I mean, with Arizona being knocked out, they have a clear path. I mean, I have them being the favorites to knock out Princeton. That will move them to the round of 16, and if the seeding just works for them, I got Missouri.
You never know what happens in that second weekend.
It's unpredictable.
It's really anybody's game. For me, I think only three of my teams played yesterday. They all won. I have Alabama, Texas. I have UCLA taking it over KU, and in my fourth region, I actually have Kansas State, the third seed. I think that's probably my biggest gamble this year. You never really know what to expect with Kansas State, but that team has shocked everybody this year. I think they're going to continue that run. And in my championship, I have the Texas Longhorns taking it over the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Well, I have KU, Alabama in the finals. Alabama is a extremely gifted team, but I'm gonna pick the underdog, which is crazy to say because Kansas has been a top powerhouse in basketball, but no team has repeated. I think it was 02, 03, the Florida Gators.
It was Florida, I think 06, 07.
06, 07, a couple years off. But Kansas University, that's my pick. I'm going to say 77-64 KU. Grady Dick gets that MVP.
A 13-point win. Wow, I'm thinking something more like, 76-69. I think it's going to be a tight game throughout, but I think Texas is going to need to hit some free throws at the end to lock it down.
I mean, hey, anything can happen in March Madness. It's unpredictable.
That's why we love March. I know you're going to be watching. I'm going to be watching the same.
100%.
We hope you guys all enjoyed the tournament and your spring break. We will wrap up the show after the break.
Missouri Western is home to the Walter Cronkite Memorial. The memorial is home to 8 of his Emmys, as well as exhibits showcasing caricatures, space exploration, his wife Betsy Maxwell Cronkite, timelines of his career, and a replica of his CBS newsrooms that visitors can interact with. We invite all of you to explore the Cronkite Memorial. Self-guided tours are available Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Hi, I'm Teresa Harrington. I am the founder of Creatures by Teresa, and what we do is we have a small animal rescue that we take in all the small animals, no dogs and cats, rabbits, reptiles, fish, birds, things like that. We have a Facebook page, we have a website, and we have put all our animals up for adoption on Pet Finder, so that way people can see what we have up for adoption. But our adoption events and our library and school programs are our greatest fundraisers right now. We also do things like we will bring animals to birthday parties and things like that, so that, the kids can get an up-close personal experience with some of the animals that they may not.
Thank you all for joining us today. We will be back on March 31st.
Be sure to stay up to date with all things KGSM-TV by following us on our Facebook and YouTube pages.
Happy spring break, everyone.